It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for August 31st, 2023. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, everyone is mad at Sony. Super Mario Bros. Wonder looks terrific, and Starfield launches later tonight. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host of Game Mess Mornings. It's Tom Caswell, everybody. Tom, how are you doing?
Doing good, despite being working like a dog.
Working like a dog. It is nonstop. Yes, I kind of lost it a little bit last time. Okay, we keep getting review codes for, some of the smaller games, but games that I care about, games that I want to make sure get covered. And I'm like, I'm going to make Sean do a bunch of stuff, and Nikki's back and stuff. So we're like, we gotta get some help. We gotta get these games covered. But Starfield reviews, by the second the show ends today, Starfield reviews will be going live. I've played a certain amount of time. I know that you spent some time with it. We can't say anything yet, but I think today's going to be a whole thing. No matter what happens with the reviews, people are going to lose their mind. Do you think that by the time the game is out later tonight, people will just go play it and shut up, or do you think this is going to be like the whole weekend is going to be people losing their mind about this game?
The latter.
Yeah.
I think people will do both. I think people will play it, and they'll also comment about the discourse, for better or worse, no matter which way it swings, is going to. Yeah, well, the discourse will be worse, but namely, like, the quality of the game or whatever, and what people are giving it. Like, it's already. We've laid it up for it to be an absolute shit show. So
yeah, it's sort of
it's gonna be a mess.
Yep, a lot of we even have a story that expectations are riding high on this game, so people are taking that to heart, and it's become it's really set up, like you said, to just kind of all fall apart right in front of us here, as people who have their emotions attached to this for whatever reason, whether they want it to fail or want it to succeed. At a certain point, just go play it. Just go play it. It's on Game Pass. Just go play it. Yeah, it's the way to do it.
And go ahead. If you're cautious, obviously there is Game Pass, and I know you can upgrade to the premium edition with that to play it early today.
That's right. Yes.
But if it's only a couple more days if you want to really wait and not pay anything extra. So there's a ton of great other games out to play and experience.
And we'll have our quick look out. GameSpot's doing a stream of it, right? You guys are streaming some of it, or streaming the conversation?
No, so we've got a couple of things going on. We will have a stream later today, 1 p.m. Eastern, I believe. So we're going to give people like an hour or so to consume reviews and whatever other content. We'll have some guide content, I think, going out at launch as well. So we'll give you some time to consume that. And then I'm actually going to be doing the stream at 1 Eastern.
Okay. So you know what? Here's what we're going to do today, everybody. Yeah. I wasn't sure about the timing of that, Tom, so this works out great. What we'll do is we're going to do the show, Game Mess Mornings. We're going to talk about today's news. Right at noon, we'll talk about the reviews for the game coming out. Tom, you can hop off whenever. You got to go get set up for your show. You can do that. But I will do kind of I'll answer questions that people might have about the game. And then we will raid GameSpot, and you guys can go watch that conversation over there.
Yes.
There's the plan right there. All right, so, hey, we're production live on Game Mess Mornings. It's how we roll over here on Giant Bomb. We got a lot happening, so let's get into this. But first, let's explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings, or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. Okay, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with PlayStation Plus price increases announced for all tiers. Premium plan is going up $40 per year. We did touch on this a little bit at the end of the show yesterday. There's been like a lot of reaction to this, and it's like actually looking at it in stark numbers now, it's like, oh man, there's more to say. This comes from Eddie McCoo at GameSpot. Sony has raised the price of every PlayStation Plus tier, The company has announced that beginning September 6th, 12-month subscriptions to the service will be more expensive. The premium tier, for example, will be $40 more per year. Sony said it's charging more so it can continue to launch high-quality games and value-added benefits to your PlayStation Plus subscription service. The Tom, I'll stop there. Do you think that's why they're doing it?
No.
I think they're doing it because they think people will pay it.
Yes.
At least a certain number will pay it. And, we've heard from Circana, formerly MPD, Matt Piscatella, kind of saying, hey, these subscription services were growing fast. They do seem to be plateauing. I mean, Microsoft has almost explicitly said that on the Xbox side of things, on the console side of things, that GamePass is plateaued in many ways. So they have to find other ways of extracting value, and raising the price is the way to do it, right?
Yeah, I mean, that makes perfect sense to me. Also, I think they can take advantage of confusing economic times. Are we heading to a recession? Are we not? Like, I feel like for years that conversation has been going on. Yep. The machinations of capitalism running at their finest. So this doesn't surprise me. And I'm sure that when all of this kicks into effect, they'll also drop news of like, God of War Ragnarok is now on the service or something like that, to like ease the pain or something. So, not surprising. The question is it worth it? And that's a. Well,
I don't think Premium was worth it before this, right? Because Premium was the one that gives you the classic games, and you get a handful each month, and it's a small handful, and it's usually from PSP and PS1 and 2. I'm like, either way, the offerings are not great. It's not some robust classic game offering. And so for that to be the top tier, that's never felt worth it to me. And I think a lot of people tend to agree. Like, there's just you don't see a lot of positive buzz out there for PlayStation Premium. The tier down from that, the Extra and PlayStation Plus Extra, is that what is the middle tier?
Yes.
People do seem to like that one because they put a lot of modern releases into that option, and it's kind of like that's the butter zone there. But that's also very expensive now. I thought the PlayStation Plus Extra is going to be $135 per year. When I saw this yesterday, I was like, this feels like the kind of thing, Tom, where when they have bad news like this, Sony usually does this, and then they have the good news soon after it. I have heard that a state of play is coming pretty soon, relatively soon. And do you think that's where they announced kind of what you were talking about, like God of War Ragnarok is in there, or maybe a smaller window between games hitting retail and hitting the service? That one feels still kind of a third rail that they're afraid to touch.
Yeah, it's so I'm assuming the state of play will be like Spider-Man focused. That makes sense, right? Like, I think, having that be the title game, if it is something that's happening like this month. I would love for it to be something closer to like them committing to that's the thing with it. I would love for them to just commit to a time frame of like in 6 months or a year. The games will come to the service. Obviously, that it complicates the business model because now people know for sure that like Spider-Man 2 would be coming out October 2024 if it were a year, for example. So people can just be like, oh well, I'll just wait until one date from now. Right,
certain percentage would wait, right?
It's a situation that like Xbox had to make Game Pass, right, and make it this thing where day one your games are coming to the service because that was the only card they had to play,
right? And
Sony is in this situation of like the business model seems to be moving this direction, but our traditional business model is very successful,
very lucrative,
and trying to figure out how to balance the two. I'm not surprised that there's been almost no movement on them, even just simply saying that, like, we're guaranteeing that every future, even that, I don't think they've ever said that, of like every PS5 game will eventually be on premium or, PlayStation Plus game catalog. They haven't even made that commitment. So we're a long way, I think, from any kind of day one. And as you mentioned, these services are plateauing. They're needing to raise prices in order to increase the revenue on them. So they're probably looking at it and being like, sure, we could increase the numbers slightly by committing to day one, but how much of a jump is that going to be? How much is that going to eat into our revenue of just selling these games? It's a complicated situation, I'm sure, for them.
I think so. The reaction to this from everybody, Sony fans, everyone else trying to dunk on Sony for making a boneheaded move or something like that. Everyone hates this because it is a really steep increase, especially on that premium tier where it was $120. Now it's $160. That $40 increase is a 33% increase in cost. That is not how these subscription services normally operate. Usually they're like, we will go up $2 per month. And so that does come up to about $24 per year. So that's a lot of money if we're kind of talking about $40 per year being a lot of money. But it ends up feeling like 10 to 15% increases instead of 30 to 33% increases. And so, I don't blame people for being like, this is arrogant Sony feeling like they can get away with things, but I don't think Sony is wrong. I think this is gonna be fine. Most of the people subscribing to PlayStation Plus probably are still doing it to play a game like Call of Duty Online, and then more and more people are being convinced by the extra tier and all those extra games in there. And that's still, even at this price, that one's $135 per year. Even at that price, still pretty decent deal for all the games you get in there. Sony's done a good job of, while not putting day and date games in there, the curated things that they are adding. And maybe not this month with like Saints Row, but a lot of other months, like they've put a lot of good games into that tier, and it's really moved the needle for them. So I think they are going to get away with it.
Oh, they'll get away with it. They'll get away with it.
Yep. Yeah, and it's like, yes, right. And that Kurtman 2K7's like, you do compare it to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, which, $15 per month adds up to be pretty expensive. Like that's yes, exactly.
You get a lot more value, in my opinion, but yes,
but more exactly right. So if you start weighing the value, yes, exactly. All right, Super Mario Brothers Wonder is a whole new approach to 2D Mario games. This comes from Kenneth Shepard at Kotaku. During today's Super Mario Brothers Wonder centric Nintendo Direct, which we talked over, that'll be up on the site later, but it should be up on YouTube now if you want to watch it. We got to see a new and far more detailed look at the upcoming side-scrolling platformer, Bendy Pipes and Elephantine Mario included. The last trailer was bustling with small details alongside the new banner features Wonder's adding to the Mario formula. Primarily that's the Wonder Flower, which was, when consumed, sees Mario and chums sent on quite the trip. It sees the world's objects and obstacles coming to life and animating all around them in a way you might have expected eating the series' previous mushrooms could have achieved. The Direct also focused on several new playable characters. The full roster includes Mario, Luigi, Peach, Daisy, Blue Toad, Yellow Toad, Toadette, and then a whole bunch of Yoshis as well as Nabbit. Each of which will play the same, but a few of them have perks that can make things easier for you. This is something they've done in like New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. With like Nabbit was in there and he was easier, and Toadette was easier as well. I think this game looks fantastic, Tom. There's a lot of ideas in that trailer, in that Direct, and it makes me feel like it's getting 2D Mario's getting the attention 3D Mario usually gets, and that's very exciting to me. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I'm very excited for it. It's the 2D Mario series is one that I have never really been there at launch. I've always kind of gone back to experience the games. The Switch was really the first Nintendo console I'd say I was committed to playing all of these first party Nintendo games. Wii U was what it was, and the Wii, I had very specific games I was engaging with that, right? Like Zelda, and a couple of other things, Wii Sports, honestly. So this is really going to be my first kind of 2D Mario at launch experiencing. I think the art style looks incredible. Yeah. I know that to some people it seems like a minute difference from the art style we've just come from, but you can see the painterly qualities of it. I think that it's a smart innovation, and yeah, I think all the gameplay stuff looks really interesting. I think that this is going to I don't think there's a doubt that this is not going to be one of the good ones. Not that there are many bad, mediocre ones that I think people, even the worst 2D Super Mario games, people still.
Yep, New Super Mario Bros. 2 is fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
So I think I'm right there with you. I think that the look of it really is, it's very expressive, painterly, as you said. I just and I think they're doing a lot with it, right? It's not just we got these cute looking characters and that's it. That's all we've done here. They're doing wild things with the world itself. That is within that style, the art style that they're going for, and Mario's eyes, the way they move and look so cartoony. It's really, really impressive stuff, especially coming off of literal more than like a decade and a half, almost maybe 2 decades, like maybe 15 years ish of New Super Mario Brothers coming from the DS, which I want to say was 2008, but honestly that was probably before that. And it's like, okay, yeah, that style, I get it. I get why Nintendo did it. I mean, for one thing, it was probably pretty affordable to use this same art style over and over again and build on it. But it really did it wore out its welcome, without a doubt. Not even by the Super Mario Brothers U. It wore out its welcome before that. To see them, really give that a fresh coat of paint in a lot of ways, that was like the bare minimum I wanted. And then they kind of went above and beyond, I think, with throwing in all the ideas. I kind of can't stop thinking about Luigi running on the background layer of a 2D level instead of on the ground, the 2D plane. He's just like actually walking on the back wall. And it's like, okay, what is going on here? That is fun stuff.
That is something that I noticed, is that definitely seems to be like different planes of action happening, like a lot more like stuff happening in the background, stuff happening in the foreground as well. And I think that's a really smart way to expand on what is possible in these 2D games, because, there's only like literally so much room to improve and innovate and things like that. But you can do little things that give it a whole new texture, a whole new life. I'm really excited. The only unfortunate thing is I think this is coming out like the same day as something else big. Yeah, and we'll be surrounded by other big games. So I'm just like, oh my god, how are we gonna?
It was on the same day as at one point as Alan Wake 2 and man, what's the other one? I just had it now. I forgot another game that moved out of the way. But then Spider-Man 2 is still coming out that same day as Super Mario Brothers Wonder. So yes, it's Assassin's Creed Mirage. That's what it was. And now Assassin's Creed Mirage
2017 all over again, guys.
Yes, that's moving up. Assassin's Creed Mirage is earlier in the month. Alan Wake 2
got pushed
to later in the month.
Yeah.
So you do have like stuff happening at the beginning and the end, and then there in the middle is Sonic Superstars as well, and then Mario, and then Spider-Man 2. I think my plan is...
I'm gonna be honest, guys. I'm not touching Sonic Superstars. I'm sorry. It's just not happening. It's not in the cards.
I told the audience that I would play Sonic Superstars first before Mario if Sonic got to like a certain level in some stupid poll I did. And of course, as soon as they heard that, they all voted. So I had to play Sonic Superstars first. So thankfully the game comes out before Mario, so I have a chance to just rush through that. I'm going to speed run that game. I'm going to set a world record so I can play Mario. But yeah, busy month, still very busy. I think that this game though is going to do just fine. It is going to be very, very successful.
Yeah. They can tap into an audience that even something like Spider-Man can't even portend to do because of how many Switches are out there. And then obviously like how friendly it is to. I was just on Saturday, I went to my partner, her cousin, like they had all the cousins together, and some of the cousins have kids, and I brought over some Mario toys, and Mario is their life now thanks to this movie. And they had Mario shirts. I thought he was going to burst into tears when I gave him a Luigi hat. Like, oh, wow. Mario is so big for kids right now, and this I feel like is the perfect. Yeah, it's gonna be big. Gonna be big.
Yes, 2D Mario games traditionally have always sold way better than 3D Mario games. And now we're in a world where Super Mario Odyssey is like 25 million copies sold, and better than actually most 2D Marios. So it's like, okay, have things flipped, or is the a new 2D Mario going to come out and be even bigger? Like, because Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe came out on the Switch and sold very well as well. It's not 20 million-ish, but I think it's pretty close. So
I think this will be the ultimately, when the dust settles, be the best-selling Mario game. Mario, not Mario Kart. Yes, excluding Mario Kart,
right,
or Smash,
and then
I guess.
excluding like Super Mario Brothers, which was packed-in, like which would have been different. So, but other than that, yes, I think I'm with you because I think this game is going to crush, and I think they will continue to as they get to the Switch follow-up. I think they will continue if they put out like a deluxe version of this. I can see them
Holy
doing
shit!
that.
Is that its name? Are we leaking the name right now? It's called the Switch follow-up.
That's called the Super Nintendo Switch. Everybody, that's what we all want.
Switch Advance is the one. If they were to bring one back, Switch Advance would be so tight.
I would like that a lot. All right. As part of this, they announced a new Switch OLED Mario Red Edition console, which has been announced. You know what? Let me turn this thing off real quick. I got the browser source because Jan's not here, and then there we go. Yes, a new Switch OLED Mario Red Edition console has been announced. This is from Tom Ivan at VGC. Nintendo has announced a Switch OLED Mario Red Edition console, confirming an earlier leak that we talked about yesterday. It will launch October 6th, 2 weeks before Super Mario Brothers Wonder. It's all red, like red Joy-Cons. Apparently, it's the same red that they use on the red and blue like neon Joy-Con controller option, but now both are red, and then the dock itself is red, but it does have like a little Mario emblem on there that looks really cool. And the best part is when you pull down the faceplate so you can like plug things in, there's a stack of Mario coins hidden in there, like you went underground in Super Mario Brothers 1, and I like that quite a lot. You in the market for a new Switch? Not a new Switch, but a new Switch?
No, I'm not. I got an OLED when it came out, and man, I mean, I was very tempted. Let me put it that way. With the Tears of the Kingdom one.
Yep, same.
But I'm just past that. I love what Xbox and PlayStation have been. PlayStation obviously has sold their faceplate separately.
Yep.
And then Xbox has these wraps. Like, I don't have to buy a Starfield console. I can just get this like little jacket for it.
I wonder if they did the math before this generation, and they're like, listen, we could keep doing the special edition consoles, and we will, but more people are willing to buy these like wraps and shells, and we can get really high profit margins on there. And I bet they decided that made sense.
Yeah, I totally agree. Also like these consoles are just now really becoming easily available. I'm sure that there's some manufacturing process where it's like, well, if we have a certain allotment that we have to make a Starfield console, it gets
you're not
complicated. Wrong. And I wish that Switch could take a page by, I think sometimes they sell like the Joy-Con separately, like Splatoon, they've sold Joy-Con separately. Yes. I would like the dock. Honestly, this red dock is pretty fire, and
really
having, I could always use another Switch dock. I have my old Switch dock here at the thing. I have one at the TV, which is the OLED dock, but I would pay money just for that. And that's where I'm the sucker, but I don't need the screen. I don't need the screen. I don't need the actual
You don't need the
console.
Switch itself. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So there you go.
I'm with you on that. I think I do hope that the next Nintendo device does go the faceplate route. They've done that in the past. The Game Boy Micro, the 3DS, the new 3DS in Japan had faceplates. We never got those. So
every time I think about the Game Boy Micro, something happens inside of me that is good.
Is it good or a bad thing?
It's good.
Okay.
I honestly never even owned one.
But it was me neither.
Just
but
nifty.
I know what you mean.
It's nifty.
Yeah. The idea of like wearing it as like a necklace and just having it like whenever you want and playing a little video game. Yeah. It's so tiny. It's so small. That screen was actually too small probably for me to enjoy games, but still I like it. I say that. I have my keys that has like a little one on there. What's that?
I'm sure it's not a great product ultimately, but it's nifty, and could always use more nifty.
Yeah, I just love the story, like Reggie being like, "What is this? This is so small. I hate this thing." And it's like, well, of course, Reggie, you're like 8 feet tall. Of course, you don't like the thing. All right, we're gonna take a quick break. When we get back, we got more news, including Spawn is in yet another video game. They're not gonna stop. They're not gonna stop, Tom. We'll talk about it when we get right back after this. All right, we're back, and Spawn, Skeletor, and Ash are coming to Warzone next month. This is from Peter Hegeval at Game Reactor.
Oh my God, Ash from Evil Dead. I was like, wait, what? That was Ash from Pokemon?
Yeah.
It's like, what?
That would be incredible. They should. The Pokemon company should begin doing that. But Ash and Spawn always show up in everything. It's I think they've both been in Mortal Kombat before. Spawn's definitely been in Soul Calibur. and I do think Ash has been in Mortal Kombat. But they guest character all over the place. Skeletor, that's a pretty cool one though. Let's see.
Skeletor's cool.
Yeah, this is that's like a relatively cool addition. What could be better to bring into Warzone than Snoop Dogg, Nicki Minaj, and the Easter Bunny? Well, how about Spawn and Ash from the Evil Dead and Skeletor, as well as manga star Alucard? Is there a manga?
Not Alucard from Castlevania.
I'm assuming it's not Alucard from Castlevania. I think that's probably right. I don't know what manga that's from, though. All four seem to be leading stars when it comes to new operators in Season 6 of Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2, which will be rolled out on September 21st if today's rumors are true. I believe it. If you tell me Spawn's going to be in a video game, I believe you. I will always believe you. You walk up to me at PAX and say Spawn's in this video game, I will say, yep, you're definitely right about that.
I was going to say, if you had told me, yo, Ash from Evil Dead is coming to Call of Duty Warzone, I would have said to you, wait, he wasn't already
in there, right?
In that?
Yeah.
I feel like there was a time period where they were sticking him in everything. So, yeah, I'm surprised. Yeah. Cool.
I'm trying to see what
Skeletor's cool. Skeletor's. I want to see that skin.
I agree. One of the best looks in any sort of piece of visual media ever is Skeletor in his golden suit in the Masters of the Universe movie with Dolph Lundgren. That incredible. He's just got this gold ornate armor on and his gold staff, and he looks like such a badass. It's been stuck in my mind for forever. My little brother was a huge He-Man fan, so we probably rented that movie literally 30 times. And so I've seen that a lot. All right, moving along here. Baldur's Gate 3 devs give update on Xbox release date. This is from MD Armuganuddin. I think I got that right. Armuganuddin. Correct me if I'm wrong, please reach out to me. Baldur's Gate 3 has been the talk of the town this month, and while it is already available on PC with the PS5 release due next week, Xbox fans are still stuck playing the waiting game. While developer Larian Studios has assured in the past that the game is still slated to release this year on Xbox, a release window still hasn't been provided. Now it seems like the studio has something more concrete and has given fans an update about when they can expect the game to release on their platform. In a new interview with IGN, director Sven Vinke has ended the guessing games with an update to some extent. It's 2023, they said, and 2023 is narrowing, so it's already pretty precise in my book, between September and November. So as fast as we can, honestly, is what they're going for, according to Vinke. This is, I'm still surprised they were able to work this out, but I guess it really does speak to the fact that they had everything figured out for this game except for that split-screen co-op, and now it's just a matter of probably submitting the game, finishing up a few more passes on the bugs and stuff like that. But this game coming out to Xbox and PlayStation before the end of the year is going to be very good for a game that has already just demolished things in terms of its success, right?
Yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 shot up to being very competitive for my game of the year.
Yeah.
I've blown away by it. And as you said, they probably were good to push the button to have it go live, except obviously there are multiple steps to making that happen. And then, they have the PS5 launch, which is going to be something that it's going to be all hands on deck, right? To make sure that is smooth. They'll probably need to be some patching and stuff that they have to deal with that. So it is probably just a case of we just have a couple of other priorities that need immediate attention, but the moment that we can push this live, we will. And I'm really happy for Xbox players because I think that this is a game that needs to be experienced. It also, I haven't obviously played it on console, but I played the game almost entirely with controller. I think the controller inputs for this game are incredible. And as long as it runs well on the consoles, this is not going to be like a PC experience that feels inferior on console. It should be just as good of a game, as long as obviously it can run well, because it's notoriously it's
a heavy game,
a performance beast.
Yes.
And so this is great, and hopefully it's going to be sooner rather than later. Very curious, obviously, how once Starfield launches, this will be a post Starfield almost assuredly, unless they figure out something in the next week.
Yeah, probably.
I'm very curious once Starfield is on there, and then once the other games start dropping, does Baldur's Gate 3 make a big splash? Have Xbox users kind of made their peace already with not being able to play it and being like, all right, cool, well, let me figure out my calendar or what have you. Like, it'll be interesting.
I'm very curious to see how that game performs with the console audience. I think it's still going to sell very well. But I think it's a more complicated role-playing game than a lot of console fans are used to. And not that like every person who's playing on PC was used to it. Obviously, it's reaching this broad audience and bringing people in, and has its ways of onboarding people and keeping people engaged. And a lot of that is just the popularity of Dungeons and Dragons itself. But I still think a lot of people who were like sort of drafting this game into their console list war, when they actually go to play it, I think they're going to be like, oh, this is not what I was expecting, or the turn-based combat is very restrictive, and I'm used to, like, even my Final Fantasy games aren't turn-based anymore. So I'm going to be very curious to see how that all goes. But I mean, this game coming out on Xbox maybe by September, like, that's wild. I mean, especially considering how busy these months are going to be, and how much oxygen that Starfield's probably going to take out of the room for anything on Xbox. So, but it's not like October's some easy peasy time. We already talked about all the games coming out then. Yeah. So maybe November is the right time to put it out for Xbox, at least.
I think if I were Larian, I would obviously get it out this year. I wouldn't rush to do it. I think honestly, like, even December, like before holidays and stuff, like when people have maybe a little bit more time to, this isn't a game that necessarily needs like a Black Friday boost. I don't think it's one of those where it's like, Mario is like, oh, under every kid's tree, we're going to have a copy of Baldur's Gate. I think this is a game that speaks to the hardcore gamer, and they're going to buy games whenever they want. And so I think that maybe giving it some breathing room from all the other releases, and say like, fuck you to Avatar Frontiers of Pandora and put it out that day, and it will absolutely demolish that game. So,
no, Avatar, you can't kill Avatar.
Look, never count Jim Cameron out.
That's
Avatar
right.
Frontiers of Pandora is gonna be everything you want.
Jimmy Touchdown scores another one. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there was a time this year where I was like, I'll play Avatar, the Frontiers of Pandora. I'll be very surprised if that happens this year. If I actually sit down and play that game, but we'll see. Former PlayStation executive has joined Xbox to lead its Japanese partnerships. This is from Tom Ivan at VGC. Microsoft has appointed former PlayStation executive Mina Sato Kato as its director of partnerships for Japan. I will be leading partnership efforts to support our Japanese partners globally, she wrote on LinkedIn, opening up a new chapter, unlocking new experiences in the games industry. I hope to see many of you at Tokyo Game Show. Commenting on coverage of the news, Microsoft's head of gaming, Phil Spencer, tweeted, "Glad to have Mina leading our work on Japanese partnerships for Team Xbox." Prior to joining Microsoft, Mina Sato Kato held various roles at Sony between 1999 and 2021, including a 7-year spell leading business development for first-party PlayStation game development in Japan. This is a part of their ongoing efforts to do better in Japan. They have the Xbox Series X and S is selling better than the Xbox One ever did in Japan. That's not saying much. It's nowhere near what PlayStation 5 and Switch are doing.
10 consoles.
It literally, yes. But they, at the very least, Microsoft is doing the thing where it's like, we are at least going to keep showing up to Japan to show that we care about the Japanese gaming audience. And I think that's always been an effort to let Japanese game developers know that they are serious about that. So if you want to bring your games to Xbox, we can support that. They've had a lot of like one step forward, two step backs in Japan, where they will maybe occasionally have a pretty big partnership, and then they'll have several games from Japanese publishers and developers that just don't have an Xbox version. They'll have PlayStation and Switch and PC versions even, but they don't have an Xbox version. That's changed relatively recently with that Xbox showcase at Summer Game Fest, where, Capcom had a bunch of stuff announced there. Sega Atlas had several Persona and that, Metaphor ReFantazio game all announced at the Xbox showcase. So Microsoft's clearly making efforts. Do you think that having, someone on the ground and having this momentum can lead to more partnerships with Japanese developers?
I mean, they certainly think that it can, and obviously this person has had a long tenure at PlayStation. So I'm sure that they have a lot of connects they bring over that Rolodex. But I do think that you're right that ultimately this is almost it's not. I don't think it is about selling more Xbox consoles in Japan because there's only so much room. It is almost like a backwards way of selling more consoles in the West, and it being this thing of like we're more dedicated in Japan. Japanese developers get more interest, which then it speaks to the Western audience that is super successful. So it is that thing of like it's not about. It would be pretty silly business, I think, for Xbox if their primary focus was like we need to sell more consoles in Japan because ultimately that market is very small, and just from a culture standpoint, they're not going to fuck with an American company the way they fuck with a Japanese company. And the Switch and PlayStation, that like it's almost impossible for Xbox to come even near those yearly sales that they're experiencing in Japan. So I do think that obviously the people that run Xbox are not idiots. They are probably looking at this as a way in which we can do a little bit of work in Japan that will improve our global efforts greatly.
Yes, and I think that Microsoft sees some opportunities there because of all that. But I mean, Sony even struggles in Japan, right? Like they're selling more PlayStation 5s than they were PS4s at this point. But in terms of software sales, the software charts is all Nintendo. It's almost exclusively Nintendo nearly every week. And when it's not one or two games from Sony or one of these other third-party publishers, it makes their way on for a PlayStation console. But the entire top 10 is usually Nintendo Switch games, and most of those are Nintendo published games. Not always, but often. So it's like, okay, obviously, if even Sony is kind of like, and Sony has publicly backed away from Japan in terms of that being their primary audience. They've said as much that they'd go for worldwide successes. They closed down Japan studios specifically because their games were too localized for Japan, and they want stuff that can be more globally appealing. And so it's like, Sony is backing away from that. The idea that Microsoft's going to swoop in and take the nothing that Sony is leaving behind was never going to happen. But I think they've shown that they are willing to do the work on the ground to convince Japanese developers that Xbox can be a viable place to do business, and they've made explicit partnerships, whether it's acquiring studios through like Bethesda's or ZeniMax's Tango Gameworks, or doing the game that they're doing with Kojima. It's like that. I think it's a start, but it can't all be partnerships, right? It can't all be, hey, we're going to publish your game or we're going to buy your studio. At a certain point, it needs to be like, we are creating enough incentives and enough structures to support you, so you just want to put your game on Xbox, even if we aren't directly paying you to do so. And I think they are on that path. That clearly they think it's important, and they're definitely not wrong. Japanese games really are that popular these days, so they kind of need that support at the very least.
Yep.
All right, moving on here. Starfield is critically important for Game Pass, Xbox says. This comes from Eddie McCoo at GameSpot. Starfield is critically important for Xbox Game Pass. According to Microsoft's Jarrett West, he told GamesIndustry.biz that there is no question that Starfield will play a role in driving new subscribers to Game Pass, though the company also expects standard purchases to be strong as well. Starfield certainly will drive Game Pass subscriptions, and it certainly will drive a lot of base game purchases because it really does come down to just the purchase preference, West said. West, a former Netflix executive, went on to say that a big game like Starfield might bring people into Game Pass, into the Game Pass fold, and then once they're subscribed, they might play more games in the catalog and spend more time on the Xbox platform overall. That's the aim of a subscription service like Game Pass, he said. And like, yeah, we get that, and I think this is the first time that, in a long time at the very least, that they've had a big game that can test this, especially in this time where we know, looking at the Xbox numbers, that they, or at least what they say publicly, that it's plateaued on console. Does this move the needle on console and PC in terms of Game Pass subscribers? Obviously, it almost certainly will, but is it enough? Is it sustainable? Is it getting them the results they need? And this is a big test for them, right?
100%. This is, I think, I would even hearken to say that Starfield is the most important game Xbox has ever had. Obviously, Halo at the original Xbox launch.
Yeah.
But like launches launches are this unique situation where you're launching the console. So, of course, you kind of need to have something to push the sales of it, right? Like that's a given. But Xbox's current situation, really trying to find a way to have more market share, and not just in selling consoles, but like brand awareness and gaming and their subscription services. Their business model now, comparative to when they launched the Xbox with Halo, is vastly different. It is not the same environment. Gaming is not the same as it was then. And so going forward, Starfield is that kind of flag in the ground. And so for that reason, I think it's definitely like top 3 most important games of Xbox of all time.
I can't imagine a bigger game
one
from coming into Game Pass. I mean, I remember the early days, like Sea of Thieves, day and date, and so yeah, cool. And then Halo Infinite was big, but the online multiplayer was free to play. So even if it like everything worked out for that game, it was that was always going to be separate from Game Pass strictly. So I mean, in the Starfield in many ways is just so much bigger than anything else. So yeah, I mean, for Game Pass for sure, the most important game, and I think yes, it is. Probably the most important launch of an Xbox game since Halo Combat Evolved, at the very least. We'll see how it works out. I'm like, the reason it's so important, though, I mean, it needs to prove the strategy. To a certain extent, it does need to. Obviously, have other games coming, but this is the one that it feels like it has the most broad appeal. Even if we look at other stuff, like Hellblade 2 is coming, Forza Motorsport is coming. The Perfect Dark is coming. Avowed. Maybe some of these games really hit, but Starfield is the one's like, this has the potential to be like a cyberpunk in terms of, well, we know it's from that studio. We're all going to show up, and 13 million copies sold in the first week or something like that. It's on that level. Will it have that effect on Game Pass and game sales? We're about to find out.
Yeah, I think that. That's going to be interesting. It's really hard to talk about this situation, having played the game and not being able to talk about the game itself, which we can't do for another 18 minutes.
Yeah. I'll say even regardless of anyone, like whatever, like we've said this a bunch of times, but whatever happens with reviews, this game feels like it's a Bethesda game. It's going to have its own life beyond all that stuff. It's going to have mod support and a huge scene behind it. And the conversations that we're going to have today and this weekend and these first couple of weeks are going to be of little relevance to that game a couple years from now.
100%. 100%. And I'm curious as to how they're going to be looking at these numbers. Are they going to be looking more in the immediate, like day one, this premium $30 pay more access and into the regular launch on the 6th? Or are they kind of, I mean, I'm sure that once they've obviously bought Bethesda, so they have the data that shows like, all right, these are what our previous games did at launch, and then this is the life that they've had. And obviously things like Skyrim have had a very long life. I would not be surprised if Starfield in 10 years' time is on every possible electronic that you could own. And there's a Legendary Edition and an Anniversary Edition and all of that, regardless of what people think about it, at launch. So yeah, how immediate are there, when he says like, this is critically important, how immediate does that mean? Is it the first couple of months? Is it the first year? Or is it, going to be a thing where Starfield is driving Game Pass subscriptions 3+ years from now? Yep. That'll be very, very interesting.
Yes, definitely. And I think Forza Horizon came out, and that's a game that was in Game Pass on day one, except for it also had early access if you paid the $100 for that or whatever. And that game sold. It had like 1 million players before it was available on Game Pass. So like that game rushed to 1 million sold, probably more than that. And that was for the big $100 version. And it's like, if this game does something similar, I would expect it to do significantly more than that. If Forza Horizon was doing that, Forza Horizon, very popular game, obviously, but I think Starfield has the potential to be even more popular or have more people excited about it. And across Steam and across these early access versions, Yeah, I think it could do 2 million copies here right out of the gate for the big expensive version, or for people upgrading to the big expensive version from their Game Pass purchase, and then they shift right into Game Pass. And it's like if all that works out the way, like in the best case scenario for them, then it's kind of hard to see like, oh, this is working. This can work. The Microsoft has figured this out for them, and Starfield is maybe the ideal game to prove that case. Again, we're about to find out. All right. Starfield fan has been banned from the subreddit for narking on leaker to the cops. This is from Ethan Gotch at Kotaku. Starfield leaks began blowing up across the internet last week after 29-year-old Darren Harris allegedly stole dozens of copies of the game from a warehouse and started selling them online. One Reddit user immediately reported the leaks to Bethesda and Memphis police, and he's now been banned from Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit after posting about it. I know this because the commenter in question, Jasper Atkins, emailed Kotaku to inform us it had happened. It seemed to me that the subreddit is running on bread and circuses modes mixed but with bystander syndrome, he wrote in an initial email. They're perfectly willing to ignore a crime that hurts a developer they claim to support in exchange for a few minutes of shaky gameplay filmed from a phone. Our Gaming Leaks and Rumors, one of the biggest hotspots for insider gaming info and speculation on the internet, hello Gaming Leaks and Rumors, has indeed been in rare form lately. After Harris uploaded the first 40 minutes of his playthrough and it began to make the rounds on the subreddit, it was like a dam broke. One of the most anticipated open-world sci-fi RPGs of the year, and possibly the decade, was finally getting into people's hands ahead of schedule. Eventually, though, what happened here is, this guy reported this person to the police. That person got caught, and then he started talking about it, and now everyone's like, you fucking narc, get out of here, we don't want you anymore. And you know what, that's fair. Don't go run into the cops, especially for something like this.
As multiple people are pointing out in the chats across YouTube and Twitch, snitches get stitches, and that will always be the case. Look, here's the thing. This person who stole the copy of the game was very stupid with how they used that content and all that stuff. So, it was only a matter of time before Bethesda and the cops came knocking on his door. But yeah, like, why get all up in a tizzy about it? Either way, like, it just, I'm just so over things like this, you know what I mean? And feeling the need, hurting a developer that they seem to care about. Like, oh my God, this is going to be not even a blip in Bethesda's, as we mentioned, like, no matter what the reviews are going to be in 13 minutes, it's not going to matter it's not going to make a huge dent into Starfield's sales and stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's shut the fuck up Friday, right? You gotta just don't. I mean, and honestly, it's for your own protection. Like when people say don't talk to the cops, because like you never know when they're gonna be like, well, what were you doing? How do you know about this? How are you involved? And it literally can only be used against you, and that's all cops care about. So don't go narking over a Reddit post. That's crazy. You got to get other hobbies.
There's more to life.
Yeah, there's so much more to life.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, I get that you're frustrated on the behalf of your favorite dev, but they have their own lawyers and they have their own protective services.
Don't worry.
They're not going to pay you for your services here. You are no hero. Don't do this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do not blame Gaming Leaks Rumors for banning them for that either. That's definitely the kind of thing where it's like, we don't want people to think that this is what you should do here. And if someone does this,
fun zone. All right, we like to have fun here.
Exactly. I wonder if anyone's ever tried to call the cops on me for doing some reporting.
Oh, I am 100% sure that this is probably why you didn't get the job at the TSA.
Exactly. That's exactly what it was. All right, here it is. Imagine Dragons has recorded an official song for Starfield. Some Chris Scullion at VGC. U.S. pop rock band Imagine Dragons has released an official song for Starfield called Children of the Sky. Have you heard this, Tom?
I have not. No.
All right.
Sorry about that.
No apologies needed. I might play a 30-second snippet for everybody here real quick. Let's see. Children of the Sky.
Here's my thing with Imagine Dragons. Before I ever heard any of their music, everyone had already decided that this band fucking sucked.
It is definitely that, yes.
And so I was like, I'm not going to go near this band with a 10-foot pole. And then I was at 2021 Game Awards, and they performed the song for Arcane that they did.
That's right.
And it was like one of the first, I mean, other than like hearing stuff in the background and stuff, it was one of the first times I'd really heard it. And I listened, I was like, this is great. Like, this song rules. This guy can sing. But I'm cool, so I hate Imagine Dragons, and so therefore I'm sure, like, I mean, we're about to get a little tease here.
Comfortable doing. There's
what it is.
Yeah,
you know
go ahead,
what it is.
please.
I think that he has the voice equivalent of a punchable face. I think he's a good singer. But I think his voice makes you want to punch him.
I mean, you're not wrong. You're definitely right. I'm like, I don't want to be on the bandwagon of like, fuck Imagine Dragons, but it's not a great song. And yes, I kind of do want to punch him. But
this has big Paul McCartney Destiny.
It 1000% does. I mean, honestly, nothing's ever going to match Paul McCartney's Destiny song. But yeah, I'm glad that we're still trying. Imagine Dragons is just like the one band that video game companies know about. Like, that's the joke everyone's been making. But it really does feel that way. I'll say I did enjoy Imagine Dragons when I saw them at the Game Awards, not in 2021 or whatever it was, but in the in like 2015 or something, 2014 maybe.
Oh wow! Okay.
In Vegas, I think it was in Vegas, and they played with Koji Kondo, I think, on stage, and that was really cool actually, but mostly because Koji Kondo. So yeah, I they look good next to him at the very least. Yeah, this song though, I don't know if this song is in the game. I legitimately don't. So that's just me. I'm not breaking embargo because I have zero idea if it's in there. I kind of hope it plays over the end credits. I'll say that much.
Can you imagine?
I can, and I would love that. Listen, one of my favorite things is like just kind of really hokey rock and roll songs playing over the credits of like Marvel movies or whatever. You get to the end, and then like you're just gonna get that Foo Fighters song, and he's gonna belt it out. And I love the Foo Fighters. I think I said Foo Fighters are like the best B+ band. Like they like really are. They're like, I don't think they've ever been great except for Everlong.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah,
Everlong.
I was thinking about
song, yeah.
Real quick, I was thinking about the Foo Fighters the other day because I saw a TikTok clip that used their music, and I was like, I'm surprised that they haven't gotten vitriol. I'm surprised that pretty much, I'm not saying that they're a bad band, and as you mentioned, they have some really excellent songs, but there's something to them that has a similar kind of quality of like, I see in an alternate universe this could have really gone the opposite way for them.
I think Dave Grohl is just so likable, is what it is. He's just so charming that really carries it. And they also seem, I think their music feels like they know what they're making, and they're happy to be making these just straight up rock anthems and stuff, and they like that. So when you kind of own it in that way, it's hard not to get on their side.
People in chat are they are not happy with us right now. I'm going to change my opinion. I think they're an A+ band, Jeff.
I really like the Foo Fighters, and I would go see them in concert in an instant. I really would. But I don't love anything except for Everlong. That's the one I really love.
Guys, save the chat discourse.
Yeah, we're sorry, everybody. You don't have to kill
Starfield. We have 7 minutes till Starfield reviews drop. All right,
this is a little appetizer of the anger.
Yeah. People just getting warmed up, for 7 minutes from now.
All right, AKI slithers her way into Street Fighter 6 next month. This comes from Jason Finelli at GameSpot. After a short preview for the character debuted at EVO earlier this month, Capcom has pulled back the curtain on AKI, the next downloadable fighter for Street Fighter 6. The slithering master of poisons will become the 20th member of the game's roster on September 27th. AKI uses sharp claws on her fingers to slash at opponents. She looks like Voldo. Tom, she looks like a Voldo, and
Voldo.
I always appreciate a Voldo. You can give me all the Voldos you have, I will take them. She also looks very horny, but that's that's Street Fighter 6 these days. That's just what that game is. So
now I have to find a picture.
Well, I'm gonna play a little bit of this trailer here. I mean, I'm gonna mute that, and then we'll bring this up. But yeah, like there's just her back, and now she's just gonna go kill this guy in a way that's just like she's gonna penetrate him to death. Basically.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. But yeah, she looks like Voldo. That's what they're going for. And I think
yes, I see.
And I think that's a completely acceptable thing to put into a fighting game. Um,
Never go wrong.
no, definitely not. Street Fighter. I got my Razor Kitsune. Is that how you say it? The little the leverless fighting game stick when there is no stick. It arrived yesterday, and I've been using it. And boy, it feels good to play fighting games on this thing. Being able to pull things off without input errors is incredible. And so now I'm like, I have re-downloaded Street Fighter 6, and I'm going to get back into it. And yeah, maybe I'll main Aki. Who knows? Aki, AKI. They have like periods between. I'm assuming you say AKI. But you a Street Fighter guy at all these days?
No, I was going to jump into it, when it was coming out, but I think I was still in the throes of Zelda. And
Oh, totally. Same.
I'm not a fighting person guy, and I've always been more of a Mortal Kombat person. Honestly, Injustice was the fighting game that really clicked for me, and then like the Mortal Kombat games that came out after that, kind of continued that. So I'm very much looking forward to MK1, and I just probably won't get around to Street Fighter 6 at any point.
Mortal Kombat 1 looks very, very, very good. I replayed through the story mode. Well, I played through the story mode of Mortal Kombat 9 for the first time. And I had a really good time to get like set up for this. I'm going to try to do 10 and 11 still, everybody, before 1 comes out. But traveling and this week with Starfield, it's been very hard to even play any of it. So I didn't play any this week, but we'll get back on stream and do some soon.
And touched Armored Core.
I know.
Like, that's the one that bums me out.
Just barely started it. I'm like, man, I got to play this game. It is actually as good as people say. It's as fun as people say. All right, we got a couple things we're going to do before we just probably give like our 30-second thoughts on Starfield here in a couple minutes. And then I will, after the show, I will answer everybody's questions, and then we'll send you off to GameSpot after that. All right, but that does it for the news. Let's do the poll real quick. The poll from yesterday is up here somewhere. Which do you think will look better in 10 to 20 years? Sonic Mania or Sonic Superstars? And 91% said the pixel art of Sonic Mania will look better in 10 to 20 years. 9% said Sonic Superstars' 3D art will hold up over that time. I will point out that my 4-year-old likes Sonic Superstars better than Sonic Mania. So, and she will be the gamer in 10 to 20 years. We'll all be dead.
We'll be dead.
Long dead by then. So yes, definitely
long dead.
Did you hear that? Did you hear this like story where the people in charge of Sonic were like, "Hey, we're doing Sonic Superstars 3D art because we think that's going to be more viable." And of course, by that he does mean I'm aiming this at a new generation of kids. I'm not worried about you old heads anymore, and I completely get that. But Sonic Mania is more timeless than Sonic Superstars. It just is. It just is.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, we got a new poll going up. I will get this going because Jan's on a train. Don't worry about this, Jan, if you're listening. Are you going to keep your current PlayStation Plus tier after the price increase? Yes, I'll keep paying. No, I'll move down a tier. Or no, I'm going to cancel altogether. You can get that on youtube.com/giantbomb. Go to the community tab. You can vote there, and we'll discuss that on the show on Wednesday of next week because I'm traveling. I'm going out. I'm out Friday. Monday's a holiday. Tuesday's a bombcast. I'll be back on Wednesday. We'll discuss it then. All right, Tom, you sent over something for me to play. Why don't you plug what you got going on, and then I'll get this playing.
We can't show it until the embargo.
Oh, okay.
lifts,
Okay.
It's a Starfield
Okay. Well, we got
thing,
2 minutes. So yeah, do your plugs and stuff, and we'll lead into that.
I'll do the plug. We do at 1 p.m. Eastern. We will be streaming the game live. We will be streaming it from the very start of the game, as per restrictions. So we will be streaming that. So that'll be an hour after. That'll be at 1 p.m. Eastern. So an hour after embargo drops. So you can go consume reviews and everything you need to consume, and then come hang out with me on GameSpot's Twitch. It'll just be on YouTube. Actually, that is important. Actually, sorry, Jeff, I didn't because there's a mix live stream happening at 1 p.m. Eastern, so we can't do Twitch.
No
but
problem.
We will be on GameSpot's YouTube, so go over to GameSpot's YouTube at 1 p.m. Eastern. And then we have a bunch of guides and stuff for the game coming out. We have one things to know about the game that we wish we'd known that like you learn by playing. That's coming out as review drops as well. There's more in-depth specific stuff coming out after that. And then, the trailer that we're going to show after we kind of give our initial impressions is a trailer for a project I've been working on for a very long time, based around Starfield. It's very different from anything we've done before. I really hope people like it. And so, that's what that video
real quick, can I ask you something?
Go ahead.
What do you think of Starfield?
I like Starfield.
I do too.
I like Starfield. I think that I have been very fortunate that I have not run into any bugs.
I have not. I have definitely run into bugs, and I'll talk about it here in a little bit. And in the quick look, which kind of caused problems in the quick look, and I'll talk about that too. But even still, I like it. Go ahead, keep saying your thoughts.
And I've also think I have done none of the main quest.
Oh, really?
Than some initial stuff that people kind of need to do. You'll see in my trailer, I've done side content for a specific build around being a pirate.
Oh, fantastic!
And in the game,
wait, so did you get arrested and like get hired to go undercover?
I did.
That's
I did
a very
the Crimson
good one.
Fleet.
Yeah.
It might be the best quest Bethesda has ever done, and I think that this game has some of the best quests Bethesda has ever done.
So that's where I'm at, Tom. I'm right there. Like, I think this game starts off and you feel like this is Fallout 4 in space, and I bet a lot of people are going to be whelmed at first. All I can recommend is stick. I do highly recommend continuing with the main quest as much as possible to get like some certain stuff. But every time I get deeper into any quest, I'm having more and more fun. It's more and more exciting. It's more and more interesting. The more like factions interacting with one another is more interesting. I'm having a really good time, and I'm like telling my own stories. Like I'm playing as someone who is wanted by bounty hunters because I have a sketchy past, and then I went to go work as a long haul trucker in deep space, and now I'm working for Constellation, and I'm undercover in the Red Fleet, and it's like being able to actually do that role playing and kind of play the game that way it's definitely working for me. Now, I was a little disappointed with the exploration of. You can't, if you're orbiting a planet, you can't fly down the planet. You can't even fly to its moon. You are always just picking a planet from a menu. You get used to that real fast, though.
Yeah, it's one of those things. That system is something that it's disappointing that there isn't something more organic. But the game has you planet hopping a lot. Like, you're constantly like going somewhere, talking to one person, and then having to immediately zip to the other side of the galaxy to talk to someone else. And like you do that a lot. So I'm glad that there is a system that is like, okay, fast travel me to my ship, fast travel me to the next system, fast travel me down to the planet.
Right. We knew this was going to be the case. They did say this, but it's still it's like, I think of Bethesda games. I think you see that mountain, you can climb it, or whatever he actually said. You can go to there. And in this game, it is, you see that moon, you can't go there. You just got to go pick it off a menu. And it's like, that's a little weird to me. That's not the Bethesda I was expecting. And yet, once you're actually on the planet exploring it all still totally works. It's just, you got to meet the game halfway on some of those things.
And I'll also say that, if your big hang up in the past with Bethesda has been combat, I do think that the combat is more than serviceable. I think it can be fun. It's a big improvement. So that's been good. I will say, and as people are starting to realize, GameSpot did give it a 7. Michael Higham was our reviewer. And I agree with a lot of Michael Higham sentiment. Sure, yeah. Again, from what I'm hearing, I hear that the story in the main quest and the writing around it is pretty weak.
I think it's getting better for me as I'm continuing down it.
And the other thing is that I think in the wake of Baldur's Gate 3, I know these are very different games, but at their core, Bethesda was the pioneer of player choice, right? Yep. Fallout 3 was and Oblivion were the games that pioneered that, and Larian and Baldur's Gate 3 leapfrogged them with that game. This game feels incredibly rigid in terms of what you can do and the choices that you make. I'm going to give a couple of examples. And this is the thing that really knocked it down for me, because I was really hoping for something a lot more flexible considering how big the galaxy is. And it's very...
It is not Baldur's Gate 3. It just rigid. Is not.
There was one situation where I was talking to someone on this planet, and there was like a head honcho that was running this town or whatever, and this person wanted to do some shady shit that was going to kind of like undermine the head honcho. And this was very early in the game, so I was fresh off of Baldur's Gate brain, and my brain was like, I'm going to go rat you out to curry favor with the head honcho and take you out, and then I'll be in their books, right? Like I'll be friends with them. When I finally found that head honcho, I couldn't chat about anything. other than like surface level stuff.
Right.
And it wouldn't let me like be like, hey, I just had a conversation with so and so, like he's trying to like take a cut of your business. I couldn't have that conversation, which like was a big letdown.
Yep.
Another situation, there were two factions, basically refugees and then like this corporate entity that owned this planet. And I was their intermediary, kind of trying to negotiate between the two of them. They were trying to settle, the corporation like had their own thoughts. I was like, screw the corporation. I'm going to help the refugees like sneak in or whatever it be, because they definitely laid out for me. It made me feel from the conversations I was having that the refugees were not willing to budge. They were like, we're not willing to budge. And the corporation was like, we're not willing to budge. So I was like, interesting. How can I resolve this conflict? I'm talking to the CEO of this corporation, and in my heart, I'm going to lie to them and say, oh, I'm totally going to go like sabotage these refugees' ship. And the CEO is like, great. And my companion also it came up, it was like, they didn't like that. And they had like a little snide comment. So I went to my companion and I wanted to like expand upon that thought. I thought, oh, it'll probably have created a dialogue option for me to chat about what just happened with them. Nope. There was nothing that I could do to talk about that situation with my companion. And then when I went to the refugees and was expecting to be like, hey, I told him this, but really we're going to do this, I was locked into the choice that I had made with that corporation, and I couldn't do anything else. I had to do what I told them. And I save scummed because I was like, screw that. Like, I definitely didn't want to do this option. And so I think that what this game, honestly, outside of having like improved combat and having some really good like side quests, there's nothing that this game does more or it doesn't revolutionize the Bethesda formula. It is still a Bethesda game. It is Fallout 4 with multiple planets, and sometimes you can kind of forget that there's even a galaxy to explore because you are just like fast traveling from, they may as well, I think Michael Hyam in his review says, it's like at points these different planets and outposts may as well just be in one city, especially because there are so many planets that repeat outposts and have the same repeating environments. I also think some of the procedural planets look really bad. There was one planet
some that look really good, but there are a couple that I'll say like trees, foliage are so stiff in the game. It's like, man, this is outdated.
Yeah, I think that this is a game that is totally up to people playing and kind of experiencing it for themselves and making of it what they will. And I think that it's ultimately going to be the most divisive game that Bethesda has ever put out, simply because of its scope and size. I said something to the effect of, let's say Bethesda games, you've got 70% good stuff, 30% mediocre to bad or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a pool, and you're throwing rocks into the pool, and you're hitting 70% of the good stuff, you hit 30% of the bad stuff. Now imagine the pool is 1,000 times bigger. You are going to kind of run into, I think, a lot more of both avenues more easily. I think there is a way that you can play this game and have a totally miserable experience, and there's a way that you can play this game and have a good experience. And actually, the way that I played, I think, seems to be a very optimal one. The Crimson Fleet stuff is incredible. Yes. And the trailer that I put together.
I have it right here. If you want me to play
so
it.
let me tee it up. It's the series is what I call a cinematic guide series. So it's going to be some guide content to show you some of the cool gear that you can get and some of the cool missions that you can do. But it's edited and shot in a cinematic way. So it's honestly like if we made a Starfield HBO series,
sure.
But it also like has that educational, like, here's stuff that you should go do. So I put together a trailer. This is the premiere of the trailer. It isn't even on. I didn't even get permission to show this.
Well,
it's not even on. It's happening. So please enjoy.
Hell yeah. Here it is, everybody.
Gravity is the beginning and the ending of everything. It's what holds the universe together. What holds us together to one another? What holds us to our actions and their consequences?
I'm gonna make this real simple for you. If that money ends up anywhere but the key, I will hunt you down and pry it out of your dead hands myself.
Allow yourself to stray too far off the path, and you stand a good chance of spiraling out of control. If you let your role strip that away, you become one of them.
Time is money, and you've wasted both. That ends today. Clear? Good.
Could say that the infinite possibilities of the universe are full of everything but coincidences.
When you're on a job, you do exactly what I say.
Delgado gains access to those resources. We might be touching off a battle we can't possibly win.
So buckle up. You're in for one hell of a ride.
That's fantastic, Tom.
Thank you. Yeah, so it's going to debut next Thursday. It's going to be an episodic series, and yes, it will have live action elements that I am shooting. So
if you need me to get in front of a green screen and be an FMV character, just send me the lines.
I am seeing if there are ways that I can incorporate GameSpot and Giant Bomb people to just like have them do cameos and stuff. So I'm still in the middle of making episode 1, but that's a little tease of what you can expect. And from everything that I'm hearing, very thankfully, the stuff that I show in the series is some of the best stuff that people have run into so far in the game. So next Thursday, it's going to be on YouTube for GameSpot, and please go check it out. Please go watch the trailer when it drops on the site later today, and let me know your thoughts there. But thank you so much for the positive comments that I'm already seeing in the chat. I had a lot of fun putting that together. Boy, was it a pain in the ass, because it's in unusual aspect ratio, and then like the bit rate of that is different from oh god, it was editing that yesterday was a nightmare.
It seems like it was worth it, Doug. So you do great stuff. That was very good. I really enjoyed that. You know what? Let's wrap up Game Mess Mornings real quick, and then we're going to go right into answering your questions. And Tom, if you got to go, feel free whenever you do. But if you want to stick around and answer some questions, you can do that as well. Thanks for watching, everybody. Tom, thank you so much for spending today talking with me about video games. I really appreciate it, man.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye. Bye, YouTube.